Hi, everyone. Welcome to Now What's Next, the show of a story, your story, and how you loving your story above everyone else's is the only way to guarantee that you get the successes in life and business that you well deserve. My name is David Vaughan. I am the host of Now What's Next, and tonight we have got an interview with Leland Best. And Leland Best, also known as the Megabit Affiliate, he's a blogger, a website designer, a video producer, SEO specialist, co-host of the phenomenal Blab show, Blab Nation. Leland has worn many hats over the past 30 years and trained and certified in radio, TV, and CATV production, automotive design, firefighting, firewater damage restoration. He's even been a karaoke DJ.
A little bit.
During his 25-year career as a civil designer, his home-based business served several Fortune 500 companies. He has been working with computers and the internet since their inception. Leland and his wife, Jenna, now call the Shiawassee, I hope I say that right, River.
The Shiawassee River.
Shiawassee River, their home, where he follows his passion as an author, blabber, video producer, and affiliate website builder under the guise of the Megabit Affiliate. So Leland Best, welcome. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks, David. It's my pleasure, of course. You seem to find your way onto our show umpteen days of the week, so it was more than my return favor to come on by and be a part of your show. So thanks for having me.
And you know what? I love the show, and I love the Blab community. My relationships, my friendships have grown immensely. It's unbelievable. Live streaming, Periscope, Meerkat, all the other platforms out there. They've been great, and I've formed friendships and relationships off of those, but nothing compared to what Blab is. And it's definitely, when they say high tech touch meets high touch, it is definitely high touch. So I appreciate it very much. And of course, I've known you because of Blab. No place else, and it's been a few weeks, and over that, we've had a friendship blossom, and you've been a very interesting person. You've got a lot of insight and everything, and I just had to have you on this show. I just had to have you as an interviewee.
Actually, if you believe it or not, I think it's been almost 2 months or more now, David, because we started this whole Blab Nation thing with Jonathan anyway and myself back in November at some point. And it amazes me how quick the days pass out here on Blab, because I think I'm going to be at 100 days here pretty soon. And, Jonathan was here before I was, but we've been banging back and forth here on Blab and in the comment section with you for at least 2 months now, I think already. Time's flying.
Yeah, I'm Mr. Giphy too. I'll come in and sneak in on your Blab and throw a GIF up in a heartbeat. Yes, so I want to start off by asking you what I ask everybody. I could go the same old route. I could say, well, what do you do? And get that type of stuff. But I want to know you, Leland. So, where did you grow up?
Well, I touched base on a couple of those questions, and it's kind of, I've been in Michigan all my life. I've never really moved out of the state of Michigan. I was born in a little kind of podunk town out here. And and this is going to look backwards on the recorded video, folks. So if I have to do it on both hands, I was born out here in the thumb, but basically didn't spend much time there. By the time I was 3 or 4, my dad got a job as a GM line worker, and it put us down into the Pontiac, Michigan area where he was out working at Plant 8. And I grew up around that area in Oakland County most of my life, which is like one of the 3rd richest counties in the country, actually, at least at one point it was. And I kind of just spent most of my time on weekends up in the country area, which was, was kind of cow ridden and whatever you want to call it. A lot of farmers' perfume and corn and sugar beets up in that area. But, I was a hunter. I was one of those people who just enjoyed being outside a lot. Grew up kind of as a typical kid who never came home until it got dark. It was go play and play your army men and all that stuff and come back when you're done. And, growing up in the area I was in, obviously I'm a Gen X, but very close to the baby boomer generation. And it wasn't until I don't know, I was probably a teenager before I really had any clue of wanting to do anything except for draw. That was something that I really loved to do. So most of my life, I just wanted to find a way to get paid to draw, and went from there and tried to decide how I was going to do that. But in the interim, I wasn't too focused on it. So by the time I was 23, I was married for the first time. Didn't have a child come into play until I was a little bit older. I was actually about 27 before my first child was born, if I recall that correctly. I got to be careful with the numbers here, but I have 3 children. My oldest boy is 21 now, but I actually have 3 more children by the grace of being married to my current wife, Jenna. So we have a family that we call the Brady Bunch. We have 3 boys and 3 girls. Hers are a few years older than mine, but we also have 8 grandkids, so that has been a blessing in disguise. And sometimes it gets a little crazy, but we've moved around a lot. I've been kind of all over the place, you know, and I could get deep into where and how and why, but most of my time was spent, like I said, in Oakland County. I graduated as an accounting student, and I ended up working in the accounting end of things for a while. I actually used to take care of the books for the Detroit Lions, and worked at General Motors when I was 19. I was paying about $5 million a month of their money out, just writing checks to design firms. And that's when I realized, I said, wow, these guys are making the big bucks.
Right.
You know, they're guys getting paid. But I even went to school for automotive design, and I couldn't get a job with any of these job shops that I was paying all this money to, because it was not what you knew, but it was who you knew.
Who you knew.
And I knew everybody, but not well enough, obviously. And I even knew what I needed to do.
Right.
So after spending all this money at GM's, I got into a motorcycle accident, and it caused a little bit of hardship for me, because I was actually a contract employee at GM. So when they realized how much money I was spending, they kind of let me go. And it wasn't a bad thing. It was really a good thing, because while I was laid up on crutches during that period, I found a job in the paper for a blueprint operator at a civil engineering firm. And I decided, okay, it's time to get a new job. Well, I took the job at half the pay I was making as a disbursement analyst, and decided, well, I want to get paid to draw, so engineering is going to be the way to do it. And I got in. I was on the boards within 6 months of running blueprints. I was drafting by hand with pen and ink, and within a year, about a year and a half, 18 months, I think it was, I was then on the CAD stations, which were new at that time. These were like, 86 was when AutoCAD was coming out, and computers were just starting to really take shape, really, in the industry. Because I learned computers in high school. I remember the old trash 80s where we had the cassette tape that we had to stick into the cassette player to save like 8 bits of data, so that you could actually save like 2 words of text or whatever onto a computer chip. And from there it just kept growing and growing and growing. And I got into CAD. I started to draw on a computer, and that was it. It's 25 years I spent as a CAD operator. But in 95, after doing it for about 6 years, I found a way to do that out of my home. So I ran a civil design business out of my home for 15 years.
So that more than triple. It sounds like that's kind of leading up to what I call the aha. I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
Pretty much. It was. Is that me? Here, let me do this. Is it a squeal back, or is a? Tell me what I'm getting.
Hearing me good.
Because my speakers are off. Yeah. How's that?
Let me see. It's when I speak.
Yeah, my speakers are off, so it's not coming out of my stuff. Do you have speakers on reflective over there? Well, you know what it is. I know what it is. Hold on. I got a good idea here. How's that? Is that better? Try saying something.
All right,
now.
how are we doing now? Yep, I don't hear me anymore.
That should be better. I found it. I was re-looping back in through my output, so sorry about that.
Fine. Not a problem. So, I'm just going to pick right up where it goes. I mean, hey, everyone, that's live TV. But it sounds like you're getting into almost what sounds like an aha moment. And an aha moment is a part of your story. and as you're building up, there's just that moment where it's a realization that comes about and says, this can be done better. I'm tired of doing it this way. I'm tired of working for someone else. So it kind of sounds like we're almost on the aha moment when you decided to do the civil design and run it from your home. And
oh, for sure.
Sounds like you were doing very well. If it's figures, why don't you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, what ended up happening was, I was actually one of the senior technicians in the engineering firm that I worked for, and I was considered one of the leaders in my field across the board in Oakland County. So to be in that position alone, I had a little bit of, notoriety in what I was able to do and who I dealt with and how well I did my job. But an engineer approached me one day and said, I'm going out on my own. And he had left the company I was with. He said, how would you like to work for me on the side? And I was like, well, yeah, I can do that. As long as there's no conflict of interest, we can make this happen, which we made sure we avoided at all costs. We didn't want anything to happen to my position at the company I was at. Because we were working for some very big firms at the time. I actually had constructed about 200 Builder Square stores. If you remember, when Kmart still owned Builder Square, we were in the print. I've built several of those parking lots. If you don't know what civil engineering is, it's basically all the underground paving infrastructure that goes into commercial and residential development. So that was where my forte lied. And he said, well, come work for me and I'll triple your income. So it was a kind of a no-brainer, right. When it comes down to it. You're making an hourly wage, and sure, you have the benefits and the vacation time and stuff like that. But when you look at the benefit of being able, and I was just starting a family at the time, a new kid was coming into the world, and I felt this was the perfect opportunity to be able to go home, be with my wife and my child, and raise a family and pay for a home and stuff like that, which it did. Found myself working a whole heck of a lot of hours, though, because I would work my day job, go home and eat dinner and work all night and probably get 4 hours of sleep. And I was right up the next morning back to work again. So a lot of sleepless nights, 20-hour days for a while. And that really, it paid off, though. I took a home that I bought as a foreclosure. I dumped that, sold it for twice what I paid for it, bought another home, in that $250,000 range on my signature, just because I had worked enough to produce some equity and credit, and then moved on from there. And then 2000 was one of those NWWN moments that you discussed on your show. It
sounds like from that defining moment, you've got exactly what I was getting ready to ask you next, which is, how did you handle the now what's next question that comes up?
Well, it all started when I made a decision that the family life, it wasn't that it wasn't for me, it was that the person I got involved with was not the person that was going to make this commitment thing that was going to work for me. So, and it was both of us in a sense, and I won't take the blame. I shouldn't say that. I didn't say that properly. I take the blame on most of the problem that took place. I was the one that just made a decision that this isn't going to work for me. And that's a tough decision, because that is when you decide for yourself, okay, now what? I made this choice, and I decided to go the divorce route. And when we did, a lot of things happened. It certainly got ugly for a period of time, and I wished that were not the case, but it was. And my business faltered. I lost interest in a lot of things, and one of them was the way I was running my business. I lost some big clients, and it wasn't just due to that. I'd lost some clients also due to the building industry was collapsing at the time, and in that 2000 period, a lot of stuff in Michigan was just falling apart. So I lost a lot of the big 500 or Fortune 500 companies I was working with, like AT&T and OmniPoint and Sprint. I was doing cell tower work for them, and it just kind of dried up. So not only was there a financial situation involved, but now I wasn't seeing my family, orientation as what it was before. And it was, okay, now what? And managed to move myself up into the Bay Area, met another woman, and this was a good year and a half after the fact, but was married a few years up there, went back to being kind of an employee / businessman, hired into the fire department just around the time 9/11 crashed. It was kind of wild because I signed up for the academy in August of that year. And then the Twin Towers came down the following month. And I was kind of like, oh my God, now what? What did I get myself into? But I did that for over 4 years, well, about 4 years as a professional fireman, and enjoyed the heck out of that. But there were a lot of dynamics that disallowed for this unit to also work. I did have another child in this process. So I was up to 3 kids and 2 wives, and this marriage wasn't working out either. So we decided to call it quits, and I was on my own for around 2006 was when right at the beginning of 2006. So about almost 10 years ago. And I went into seclusion, and it was kind of self-imposed. It was one of those things that, okay, I got to make a decision as to what I've got to do here. So I locked myself in a house, a rental home that I had gotten involved in. And I just said, you know what? I don't want to hear from anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to deal with anything. I'm just going to go back and forth to work every day. And I had some friends, but the reason I went into seclusion, honestly, wasn't just because of that. I'd fallen pretty deep into some drugs, and that was the sad part of my life there. I was on the DJ scene in Saginaw, Michigan, and I was bar to bar, hopping here and there in a crowd that was about 15 years younger than my own, and it got me wrapped up in places I shouldn't have been in. So that was one of the things that I realized was definitely a turning point, and that habit carried with me for quite a while until I met my third wife, Jenna, who's in the crowd today, sitting in the seats out here in the fan seats. And, you know, honestly, if it wasn't for her and the way we encountered each other, the way we met was online on a dating site. And if it hadn't been for her the night that I needed it the most, I don't think I would have survived much longer. I figured I was about this far from, not suicide or anything like that, but I was about that far from probably overdosing on crack cocaine at the time. So it was quite a mess. And since that time, we've been married now going on 8 years. I believe it is, hun, isn't it? It's not. I think it's 8 years. So, and things have done nothing but point in the right direction. We've had our ups and downs, obviously, like any married couple has, but we opened an automotive detail firm together back in February of 2014 and worked a 6-figure income, not so much an income, but a sales business out of that. And the problem was, I mentioned in a previous Blab this morning on our show, it was just too much of a good old boy syndrome in the town that we're living in. So we ended up closing shop last June. And now I'm just to the point where I want to kind of take it all out on my own, straight up online, and just see where we can make things happen and who we can meet and what we can discover as a new way to enjoy life instead of working at 9 to 5 every day.
Wow. I mean, that's quite the journey. That's, a little bit. That's very, and thank you for sharing. That's a definite.
That's all right.
And if anyone's hearing a low rumble, no, I don't have an earthquake going on. Evidently, my stomach wants to talk on the show as well. Yeah.
Oh, is that you?
It might very well be. All our success is based off of the experience of our failures. And it certainly sounds like you racked up quite a bit of your own failures as you went along. Oh, yeah. So you've certainly gained a lot of experience. There's a lot of wisdom in what you have. But looking back and with that in mind, what two pieces of advice would you offer your younger beginner self, if any, and why?
Well, I think obviously the first one is to stay off the drugs, to stay away from that stuff. I grew up in high school smoking a little bit of marijuana, like probably everyone else did at some point in their life, at least experimented with or tried. And it was just, you hear all the stories, it leads to this, it leads to that. And honestly, I don't want to say that I could connect the dots from smoking a joint back in my high school days to what ended up becoming of my drug addiction back in 2000 and 2005, I would say roughly.
Connection is, I think, what you're
referring to. But I had a huge gap of no drug use at all. There was this 15-year period where I didn't touch anything, and it was just a circumstantial thing more than it was anything. So one would be to definitely, kids, just stay off of the stuff. It's not worth it. And the clearer your head and your mind can be as you move along in your health, obviously, if you can keep yourself sane enough to stay off that stuff, then do so. And I think the second is, I took some pretty massive action as a kid. I was directing engineering gurus at GM when I was 19 years old, telling them how to do their job. But I broke away from that and got too comfortable. I got kind of easygoing and didn't concern myself with this push to drive myself to my extent, that I had capable of. And I really wish I would have just pushed it to the max that entire period of time, that I didn't slow down at all, because I'd certainly probably be a multimillionaire by now if I had. So, and I'm not, I'm in no way in that type of position. I squeak by, but that's barely talking the truth. So I have to admit that with this new concept of how I'm going to work and how I'm going to develop my career, it's kind of like starting over again. And I really wish I'd have just driven hard from the very beginning and not slowed down one step, because I could have probably succeeded within a few short years and then had the opportunity to just relax and really enjoy life, I think.
Wow. Well, that's pretty sound and good advice. And then, of course, always the question is, because hindsight's always 20/20. But would your younger self actually pay attention? And the answer that anybody's going to be able to provide is, I don't know. When I've been asked that, and people have talked to me, and I've given a history of myself and various things that have gone on, and you're like, well, if you could go back and tell yourself, do you think you'd listen? And I'd sit there and say, probably not. And that was part of my problem growing up, is that, hey, I know it all. You can't stop me. And even saying that, there was the period, Leland, where you were talking about, the time period where there weren't any drugs or alcohol, or at least the abuse of it going on. I don't know if you've ever heard it. I've certainly heard it. The drugs, the alcohol, the money gambling, whatever it is, those aren't the problem. They're just actually a symptom of the larger issue at hand, which happens to be us. Oh, yeah. But it sounds like you've grown from all that, and you've taken that opportunity to, you made some right choices. You made some wrong decisions, and the wrong decisions gave you that experience. Did. And from that experience, you've made some right decisions. So it's very commendable. And I thank you very much for sharing that.
Well, thanks.
Well, with all that being said, it's 2K16. I think I was on a Blab earlier, and they were like, "Oh, it's hip and trendy now to say 2K16, or it's 2016, it's 2016." However you say it. What's next for you in 2016? Where do we go? What's next in the chapters ahead in the life of Leland?
Well, I thought I had everything figured out about the middle of last year as to where I was headed. And then along came this live streaming crap, and, all of a sudden everything's changed again. So it's really, I'm kind of redirecting myself once again, being an affiliate marketer, and, there's other things obviously that I enjoy, but, probably two of my biggest loves are, just being on the computer and dealing with the new technologies and things like that as they come out. And when I saw what I had here on live streaming, especially Blab in particular, because there's been live streaming for almost a decade now, but it just really got me back to where I was comfortably, and that was kind of not necessarily a limelight figure, but a communicator, a connector, someone who likes to get out and make connections with people and be able to be a part of a community, which we have over at Blab Nation right now with Jonathan Tripp. And, I have to thank him just for allowing me the opportunity to be a co-host on his show, because it was something he started off originally. Whether I'll have my own show in the near future, there's good possibilities for that, because, that was kind of what I anticipated when I came out here, but I was still getting my feet wet again, basically, on recording video. I mean, I used to record video a lot, but after being, off it for so long, you get back on it and it's like, wow, this isn't as easy as it used to be. Right, and I started a lot of recording on YouTube, and I do have some 3D animation stuff that I really want to play into. That's where this little character of mine up top, that guy over there, comes from, and I'm really looking forward to getting deeper into that, to where people are going to be able to receive my message in a little funner format than just seeing me live on stream. I'll have those recordings, obviously, with John and myself, and probably some of my own shows, or even on your show, and several of the others out here who we've gotten to know so well. But I'm really hoping to put my feet down into some other avenues, when it comes to 3D animation and graphic work, and really starting to help people understand how they can brand themselves and how they can create a business on their own. Just grabbing a WordPress site and running with it, find something that they really enjoy and build off of that, and be able to go out there and show the world what it is they're good at, or what they really appreciate, or, what tweaks their interest in things. And that's, I run several affiliate sites, and it's because I enjoy so many different things. And those are the things I build my sites based on. So I would really love to be able to show anyone else out there that they can do the same thing. And it's really pretty easy to do so.
Well, and do you have, so with all that in mind, I mean, do you have a target audience that you got to have a target audience. You got to know who you're aiming towards.
I do.
So who are you aiming?
I'm aiming towards those folks. And I'm sorry, David. Was there something you wanted to add to that?
Because you're headed right to it. Who's your target audience? Who is the person that you're speaking to?
For the most part, it's those who have been sitting around really itching to run their own business. It's the people who have known they've had it in them all along, but just didn't know where to take the first step. They didn't know how to turn their to excite their desire enough to let their passion out and be able to breathe that and live that. It's something that, it took a lot for me to simply say to myself, okay, enough's enough. I'm just going to do what I love to do. And yeah, it's going to be difficult for a little while at the beginning, and you're going to have to understand that that's just what it is. So I'm not looking to be dealing with these corporate exec types. I'm not going to be dealing with people who have probably created their own online business before even, but I'm more than willing to work with those who have and have maybe struggled with it. But really what I'm looking for are the moms and pops out there who want something different, or maybe even the young bucks that don't want to be working for, the man, and want to do this on their own and have that entrepreneurial spirit where they can get out there and do things that way. So my target is varied, and it may be slightly broad, but it's kind of inclusive of a certain type of individual. So somebody with some gumption, some motivation, and someone who wants to drive that passion home and make it work for them.
That sounds like you got a good plan going. And it sounds like you're already on the road to hitting those goals that you've set. So, I wish you all the best of luck with it.
Thanks,
absolutely. And it's been, I've learned things. This has been wonderful for me. I've learned so much. Jenna, just to respond to your comment, no matter what he says, it was you. Okay. I'll answer for that. It was you.
No, if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be.
And
where
that's
I'm
a
at
wonderful
right
thing.
no
Behind every man is a stronger woman. I firmly believe that. My wife is very much my bedrock, my foundation in everything that I do. And I believe that we all, it's good that you can share. It's good that, 3 times the charm, and So now you've done. So that's great. Well, listen, everyone, I appreciate, that wraps up my questions for Leland. And so now we're on to the portion where you, the community, can grill them or ask questions or whatever you want to do.
Easy on me now.
I am going to open up the hot seat. I'm going to do it as a first come, first served basis. So I'm only allowing one person in at a time. If you do want to jump in the hot seat and say hi to Leland, you don't have to ask a question. You can just give a comment or anything like that. That's fine. Just type 5 in the comments over there if you would. If we get a bum rush, and if not, Jenna, you don't want to come in? Are you sure?
I tried to get her in here. She's sitting on the rocking chair in the living room with her laptop, so she's probably not going to come in.
And if you've got a question, then I'm going to put my little Giphy image. Actually, I think I've still got it queued up.
Look out, GIF man striketh.
Yeah. So if you've got a question, the way that you type a question, just /NQ. And while you're at it, why don't you tweet this out, tell a little bird, because this portion of the interview with Leland is all about you. And I'm tweeting. So, you just had to bring in those.
I couldn't help myself, David. Sorry. I should have asked before I put any sound effects on your recording, shouldn't I?
No, the sound effects are great. And plenty of people have talked about that, where, they wish that there was some Google Hangout sound effects like they have. I know Zeph loves them. So we've got Dennis coming in, and he's jumping in the hot seat. So Dennis, welcome to Now What's Next, an interview with Leland Best. Thank you very much. What do you got to say, or what do you got to ask?
Oakland County guy here as well.
Yeah, he's an old Michigander from way back.
Your comments about working for Generous Motors takes me back when I was in high school and college working on the line at Chrysler Motors. And so my story was working on the line showed me what I didn't want to do the rest of my life, and made me more serious when I was at school up in Mount Pleasant. And, from there, it just continued. Like both of you mentioned your wife's is the bedrock. And my wife and I moved to Kalamazoo, Michigan in 1983, started our family there, and we escaped Michigan in 98 and now live here in the Baltimore area. And you remember, Leland, the old Upjohn company being purchased by Pfizer and basically pulled the plug on Kalamazoo, and just a couple years earlier than that, General Motors closed the Kalamazoo plant. What they make? Transmissions, axles, or whatever?
I think it was axles because they made transmissions in Saginaw, so I'm not sure. Yeah. So I actually lived, Jen and I, that was one of the places back in 2010, we took off to Kalamazoo for about a year and a half. So we were right there on 94 and Portage for a period of time, right in Millwood Valley there. Enjoyed it. Nice little town.
And my brother still lives in Lathrop Village, if you can believe that.
Oh, okay.
And anyhow, so David, very, very good interview of Leland. Leland, fabulous story. And your wife, I've already commented to her that she's got a very good man.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
So here's my question to you, though. I was on a Blab earlier. It was Steve Dotto, and they were talking about productivity. And I don't know, David, were you on that one earlier today?
I was not, unfortunately. This has been a very busy day.
Busy day. Anyhow, it was pretty fascinating. The topic was productivity, applications, etc. And they had a fellow that is a writer for New York Times, and he made the comment that in terms of finding an opportunity that you have to go where the money's at. So I'll say to you, Leland, I hear the passion, I hear the desire, but if it's really going to be a growing concern for you, you gotta move a little bit higher on the food chain than people that are starting out with a business and don't have the money to pay you, brother. So I'm going to say,
totally get where you're
find
at
somebody that already has a business, doesn't quite have the website, the social presence, etc., and has the money to pay you.
I think that partly comes with my ability to just want to give so much of myself to people that because I've been in that position before and I see them struggle and I want to really help them out as much as possible. But I do have to realize that there's not a very big bottom line when it comes to the lower end of the spectrum. Yeah. So I will definitely be, I guess maybe what I need to do is really get up into that area of market that I need to be in and consider doing some pro bono work. How's that sound?
No.
I'd turn around and I'd look for the wife before I said that too loud.
Yeah, so here would be my take. So let me step in on that and just offer my 2 cents.
Sure.
And I won't charge you 2 cents for it. So it's my
it says LOL.
Yeah, I know. She's having a ball with this.
So I'd stay away from the pro bono portion of it. Now, I am one, as I'm growing what I'm doing, I am certainly going to be donating in various different ways. I want to make sure that my success helps contribute to the success of other causes that I believe in, and I'll make that known and all that type of stuff. But the pro bono kind of goes into the free content and all this type of stuff. So here's where I go with that. You definitely need to offer free content. You need to give. I mean, it's information.
Always do.
I tell everybody that no one is buying information from you because information is readily available to everyone for free on the internet. What they buy from you is access to you. They buy the how-to, the blueprint, all that type of stuff. And when you think you're giving too much free away, you need to give a little bit more. Because you're holding yourself back. But as for charitable causes and stuff of that nature, you just, and you get into the pricing model, trying to make a name for yourself, trying to get out there, don't do it, because there are going to be plenty of people, even on the bottom of the food chain, who would be willing to pay you for your expertise, for your experience, and for your guidance and for your help. So, it's kind of a slippery slope type deal of what it is. I don't want to seem chintzy and high uppity or whatever it is and just bigger than myself. But on the other hand, you can get yourself wrapped up into something that's just hard to get out of. And basically,
absolutely.
And I'm a victim. I'm a victim of my own words. I have certainly done it myself because I am the entrepreneur's geek. I geek over everything. I look into everything. I study the ever-living mess out of it. And when somebody asks a question and raises their hand up, I of course sit there and throw in the towel and say, "Oh, here, I can help out." And what I need to learn more often than not is that sometimes I just have to say no.
Here's my number.
Well, you have to say no. You have to prioritize and have a plan and everything. And if it's not helping, I would stay away from that. But on Dennis's point about, who you're marketing to, the only thing I can say about that, I mean, yes, there are going to be people out there who they don't have a single dime. And they are looking for every bit of free that they can possibly get. And again, give them as much free as you possibly can. But there are plenty of people down at the bottom of the food chain who have not established anything and are wasting their money on everything that doesn't work. So why not you get in front of them and them invest their money into what does work? So
yes. And that's probably where I should have been a little more specific, because when I started out in this whole marketing industry, I fell hook, line, and sinker into some of the not so savvy categories of internet marketing, you might say. And I got on caught up in that whole shiny object syndrome where, it's like this way to the next $10 sale. And, I don't run my marketing business that way. I thought I was going to try to build all these huge pay it all funnels and all that other garbage. And, all these, like you see me do on our blabs all the time, David, the buy it now button, where it's like, that was what I thought I was, because it was so attractive to me. It was just one of those things that I thought would be really cool to build these kind of salesy websites and stuff like that. And then when I realized how really mundane and trashy they were, I was like, and I'm not here to offend anyone, that some people do it in a proper tone and in the right atmosphere, but there are a lot of people out there who are really just selling a bunch of rehashed garbage from 5 years ago. That's PLR products that were written overseas or were written by somebody and sold to their length and then being resold again now. And I don't want to be that kind of marketer. I want to be someone with a fresh attitude, someone who's more connective with the person behind the brand and their customer, so that if I can help a business do that, then my worth is in that cost, and I'm not afraid to go and ask somebody for, a few $100s an hour for what it is that I know and what I do, because I've been there before and I've done that type of work before, where I signed, tens of thousands of dollar contracts with people just to spend a few months with them and work business plans out or whatever it would be, or to provide a service for them. I was very service oriented, and that's part of my issue. Being a service oriented individual is the kind of person that you know what you're worth and you want to charge, but because you like to provide a service, it's sometimes hard to stop giving away more of yourself than you should. So I get where you guys are both coming from, though. I just need to be a little more careful moving forward.
Hey, David, I'm going to open up the seat for one of your other guests out there. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Thank you very much for
Thanks, Dennis.
And you're a wonderful participant.
I appreciate
in all the blabs that I've been doing.
Take care.
Others.
Absolutely. All right. See you, David. Love that man. He's a good guy.
So the seat's open if anybody else would like to jump in and say hi to Leland and ask a question. And in the meantime, I did have one other question.
And I'd just like to give a big welcome to any of the folks out there. I see a few new blabbers out here on Blab, so welcome to the platform. If any of you ever have a question or a concern on what goes on out here, Jonathan Tripp and I run a morning show at 10 a.m. every weekday out here on Blab. It's called Blab Nation. You can find us out there pre-scheduled, usually on the top row every a.m. when you come out here. So feel free to stop in and take a look at our show. It's all business, marketing, and social media
And
related.
you're more than welcome to pop the link for. They've got a wonderful Facebook group going. So, Leland, you are more than welcome to pop the link.
Sure. Let me go
there. You can actually find out the schedule of the show, and it's a great show. It's been doing. They've had some great guests on, some great interviews, some great topics. It's a lot of fun.
Got a couple of big ones coming up, actually.
Kind of hopefully, like I'm trying to do this.
Let me throw this in here.
Doing what I'm doing. He's
back.
So Dennis coming back.
Let him on in.
Everybody's going to be shy. Why not?
That's okay.
All right. So David.
Yes.
What's next on your show? Now
what's next on my show?
Sure.
So tomorrow night, I actually had one thing planned, and now I've got an interest for an interview, and the person hasn't confirmed yet. So I'm not sure if the interview is actually going to happen or not. If the interview doesn't happen, then the show will happen tomorrow night. And what I will be discussing is making sure that your rituals don't become your ruts.
Ooh.
Because we are, so my website's the Brand Machine. I am the Entrepreneur's Geek. I am the person that is going to be talking to you about why you are probably the most common reason that things are not getting done and that you're getting in your own way. And one way that we get in our way is rituals.
All right.
I have to do it this way.
I'm out of here.
All right. Leave now while you got a chance.
Like right there.
No, I hear
you. Yeah. Good. Well, you need to be there. And I'm going to have I don't have the link up yet just because, again, I'm waiting for that person. But if they don't confirm, probably by the end of the show, I'm on that link out there for that.
Hey, get to the question that Mr. Jennings just wrote in.
Horace. And welcome, Horace. I appreciate you being here. I've seen you around Blab quite a bit, including some of mine. So, Leland, I'm going to let you take that one. This is all about you and for them. So do you think Facebook Live is a game changer in live streaming? I will definitely.
I'll chime in. No.
No. I think you're right, Dennis. I don't think it's even a competitor, to be honest with you. Not from what I've seen. And I know a lot of people who are live streamers and who received the Facebook live streaming early on, and I have yet to see one of their live streams show up in my newsfeed. So it's like, then they're friends on Facebook. So what is the purpose behind this thing? Are they just making videos so they can watch them for themselves, or are they sharing them? I shouldn't say that. I do see some of Delilah, or not Delilah, is it Delilah? Yeah. Delilah's Blab. Hers show up in my newsfeed, and she does some pretty good ones. And I did see one of Chris Cubby's yesterday, or from this morning actually.
Oh, he did one. I haven't seen his.
Yeah, I haven't received mine yet. So, but I'm not on iOS, which is I think where they're filtering them out first.
I just saw that Sandra's now on, so I know she's not a shrinking violet. I'm going to say goodbye, and you need to get the Energizer Bunny on. Sandra, over to you.
Time to kick it up a notch now, but no, I don't see a whole lot of competition I mean, it has its place, it has its purpose, but I don't think you're going to find a lot of, I mean, it'll work for some people, I think. Whether it's going to be the platform that everybody uses, I don't think so. I think people have gotten enough of Facebook already that just adding a live streaming platform to it isn't going to give it a rebirth. It's going to just add another component that may actually lag it down some more. Like today, I couldn't even use my instant messaging on Facebook all day today. So if that's any sign of what live streaming is causing in the back end of Facebook as to, okay, well, the things that we do rely on normally aren't working anymore, then there's a problem. So we'll just have to see. Give it time and we'll see where it goes. But I don't see it being a big game changer. I really don't.
And I guess my point on it, and I've been back and forth about it. So I'll approach the question from a couple directions. So my first direction is this way. I am a huge advocate of do what you do best first and foremost, and make sure that it's quality and a top quality, that you are giving the absolute best to your community. So when all these platforms decide that they're going to incorporate what someone else is doing, then they're not doing it. Now, Twitter, what did they do? They bought Periscope. Meerkat, nobody purchased them. They're still around. They still have a community. They're not going anywhere. So anybody that's out there is a Meerkat hater thinking that it's gone. It's not. Facebook Live, it's not going anywhere. But it's nowhere near how beneficial it will actually be. That's probably the easiest thing I can say is that we haven't seen it yet. It's still in a lot of beta on their side. They are still not fully rolled out the Facebook Live portion to people. It's iPhone only. You can't do it from your desktop. And it's not Facebook Mentions, which is a completely different portion of the same platform. They've got to figure out resource issues. They've got to figure out use case. They've got to figure out how to, and I hate this word, but it's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to figure out how to monetize it. So expect ads on Facebook Live videos because they will be there. Sure. And then that will give people a cut of the action or whatever. There's a lot of benefit, but there's a lot that they've held back. Now, if you want to use live streaming and incorporate your Facebook account, Nomadcast has been out there since January of last year.
True.
They actually stream live to Facebook and Twitter simultaneously very well, and they always have. They were very buggy at the beginning, but you know what? Who isn't? It's just the way that it was. So Facebook Live is going to be exactly what Facebook Live is going to be. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Facebook's not really into that same market. And Horace wants to hop on in, so we're going to welcome Horace.
Come on in, Horace.
Yes, how y'all doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Horace.
Hey, what's going on?
For being on. Now, what's next? Hi to Leland. And
how you doing? How everybody doing? Everybody in the room. Leland, how you doing?
Doing great. Horst, how are you?
The reason why I was asking the question because I was able to access Facebook Live, and the way it's done, you got to press the like when you do an update, you press that, and then it comes up in the little box there where you make a comment or whatever. They got a little button there, but I tried it. It was all right. It wasn't.
Well, there's a 30-minute time limit on the videos that you can produce on Facebook Live.
Okay.
So the one thing that it lacks there is longevity. But, you know, Facebook has been touted as being a competitor to YouTube when in reality no such competition is taking place when it comes to video production. Their platform has the capability to do good video feed. We've seen that time and time again with the fact that we have video in the news feed on Facebook. So we know its capabilities are there. It's just really what kind of audience are you going to be reaching out to, and why will you be using it? And I can't really. You've got a TV or something going on in the background.
Okay.
Serious. One thing to keep in mind when you're on Blab, these windows are focused for volume. So if there's any background noise going on these, it actually takes and stomps all over the other windows with sound, so that in the recording, those people won't be able to actually, like if I was talking and your TV came on, they'll hear your TV, but they won't hear me talk. So it's something you have to be very aware of when you're out here on Blab. So, but Facebook, it's got its place. I see some celebrity action going on. You know, we've got The Rock, we've got Gary Vee, we've got those guys out there using Facebook Live on a regular basis. And then we have people like Jamie Foxx using Periscope. And they blow the thing up when they jump on these live stream platforms, and everybody goes crazy over it. But I think with Facebook, because there's so many people out there and so many don't have a clue how to use it, that they have to be very selective on how they let it out to the public. And it's going to take a long time before the people who could probably use it proficiently are even going to get their hands on it. So it's kind of a lackluster thing right now. Now, that's not to say Facebook, live streaming won't take off in the future when everybody starts to receive it and can start doing like video call outs to each other, or a video response to someone else's video. Then you have a real possibility there, but we're not seeing that yet, and it's going to be a little while before that capability is even available.
Well, and the other thing is until then, everybody needs to understand, no matter what platform, including Blab, we are not conditioned. Your audience, your community is not conditioned yet to look for live video.
Right.
And so, with Facebook Live, it's personal, it's your personal news feed. Now, Facebook Mentions is the other side of the beast. And, so that's, you have to have a verified page, and you have to get accepted to be able to use it. And as Leland was saying, they're limiting to who they have provided that to. And that's, again, it's a resource type thing. But the thing that you've got to do, and Sandra mentioned this, and it's a great way to do it. She's used Facebook Live, and she's used it to promote her Blabs and have people come over. So that's a nice cross-platform to get over that way. But it definitely indicates the all-powerful importance of your list. If you are not building your list, then you are setting yourself up for failure, because your list is the only channel that you truly can control and communicate. But hey, it's in its infancy still, all this stuff. I mean, I know it came out last year, but trust me, there's going to be so much that comes about this year, and in the right ways and the wrong ways and all this type of stuff. It's a ride. Enjoy the ride as we go along, because it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot more live streaming platforms coming out. I'm certain of it. Meevy's just an example of that. That's another one that just came out a couple of weeks ago, and that one is very buggy. It's had some real knocks in the ditch, you might say, to start off with. But they're going to try to fix that, I'm sure. And there's going to be others just like it who want to get into this field because, there are so many people that are up in arms about, oh, these live streaming platforms are just the bomb. So, of course, it's a new market and everybody's going to create another niche for it. So I expect to see a lot more.
Well, Horace, I'm going to go
use Facebook if you got it. Well, let me just say one thing before you let him go, David, is the one thing I can say for you is you have it, okay? I don't have it. So I can only speak from the outside looking in. If you have it, use it. And use it as much as you possibly can in whatever way you think you can or whatever way you possibly think it would benefit your business. And you're the one that's going to decide whether the metrics are actually working for you or not. It's not so much whether the platform is good or bad. It's how are you using it, and are you using it in such a way that it is working for you? So just play with it. And that's what we're all doing out here on these new platforms. It's like just take it to the limit and see what kind of ROI you get out of it, and then you'll decide for yourself whether it's good.
Definitely play with it. Make sure that you understand. If you never ask the question, the answer is always no. So if you never dip your toe into the water to see how it feels and see what you can engage and who you can engage, the answer is always going to be it doesn't work.
Right.
Try it out. So.
As for me, I love Blab, and I'm here for the long haul. So I got here early enough that I became one of those pioneers involved with Blab. I know the Blab team already pretty well. So it's one of those issues where it's a no-brainer for me. I don't need another live streaming platform. I can stay right here and spend my time live streaming all I need to on Blab.
Okay.
Thank you, Horace, for jumping in.
All right.
Yeah, thanks, Horace. I appreciate it.
All right.
We'll see you. Yep.
Oops. Let me do this real quick. Okay, well, you know what? Another hour has passed, and we've come to the end of this show. So I appreciate everybody's participation in the questions. Thank you very much for showing up. And I want to thank my guest, who, without him, it would have never been possible, Leland Best. Leland,
thanks,
any
man.
parting words as we wrap up?
Blab on! That's being a little crazy, I think, but no, it's my only words are I want to thank everyone who's managed to stop by for this particular live session, because it warms my heart to see that already in the short amount of time that I've been on Blab, that there were actually people who were even interested to come by for an interview with me, and it's really kind of enlightening to see that there is such a big community base out here who cares about each other. We reciprocate in kind as we move forward on Blab, and I'm sure as 2016 continues to grow, we're all going to help each other grow in the process. So, my hat's off to all those other people who are in the fan seats today. And I do my best to try and get out to your shows out here when I can. So if you do see me, even if it's just in passing, know that I'm coming to see what you're up to on your show. And I have just as much of a heart for what you're trying to produce as I know you do for me. So my thanks go out to all of you guys. And we'll see you guys out on Blab Nation every morning, 10 a.m. Come on by and see us.
I muted myself.
David.
I was saying thank you very much, and absolutely, and it's been a wonderful pleasure having you here. So, the last thing is, how can folks get in touch with you, Leland?
They can actually, I'm right in the middle of some reconstruction. They can send me an email at info@lelandbest.com if they do want to email me. So I'll put that out here real quick. But as far as my website is under construction at Leland Best. But if you do want to get any of the information, I have let me get this down here so I can spell it right. My website, Megabit Affiliate, is live and running. I have some information out there on keyword research. It covers how to avoid some scam issues, and it also goes into some site reviews on some of the big web blogging systems that are out there today, along with the 10-day training course that I have available for free over on the right side. So if anybody wants to get an idea of what it is that I do, come on by either one of those, and I'm sure lelandbest.com should be up and running by the beginning of next week.
Go ahead, give them some traffic anyway, and hey, start blowing it up for them. So,
Yeah, thanks for that.
Well, everyone, thank you very much for joining
it.
in. My name is David Vaughan. This is Now What's Next, and this was an interview with Leland Best. And Leland, once again, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for attending, and for all the replay viewers and those on podcast, wherever you are. If you ever want to reach out to me, if you ever have a question based off of this, just use the hashtag on Twitter, NWWN Talk, and I'll be sure to make sure your questions get answered. Thanks a lot, and have a great evening. And make sure you subscribe and follow, because we've got more great interviews coming up.